shooting and child abduction in Brampton has come to an end. He was killed in a police-involved shooting early this morning. The SIU launching an investigation. Good afternoon. We begin in the Niagara region where Anthony DeShepper was killed following a manhunt overnight.
The 38-year-old was wanted in the murder of a woman in Brampton and the abduction of his one-year-old daughter. Our John Musselman is live in Niagara Falls this afternoon with an update from the SIU. John.
Well, Michelle, this all ended at the gas station behind me. We'll just show you the scene here. This is in Niagara Falls. Police were called here around 2:30 this morning. That's when they spotted the wanted man in connection with the homicide in Brampton. The SIU says there was an interaction with the man and he was shot. Now, this all started, as you well know, in Brampton yesterday afternoon when a woman was allegedly shot by this man. It resulted in an Amber Alert. Now, what we're learning today from the SIU is that there was a woman driving the vehicle that this man was standing beside. She has now been taken into custody. Charges, we're told, are still pending by Niagara Regional Police. Now, the SIU is gathering evidence here. They're collecting security video, obviously from the gas station as well, to sort of determine how this all played out early this morning. This was at 2:30 in the morning. This is a very busy section of Niagara Falls, but it would have been quite quiet at that time. Here is what the update from the SIU was just a short time ago.
What precipitated that shooting is basically what the SIU is investigating, so that's why we're talking to any witnesses and trying to collect any video evidence. There was a firearm that was recovered at the scene that belonged to the male individual, but as far as what happened prior to the police firing the weapon, that's what we are investigating right now.
And we can also let you know as well, the child that was part of that Amber Alert is safe. Police here this morning say that she was taken to a family member's home. We don't know a lot about the other woman who was in this vehicle last night or her connection to the man who was shot by police last night. This investigation is continuing here. The SIU saying they're still canvassing witnesses as they piece together what happened here early this morning. Reporting live in Niagara Falls, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, John.
Yes, I
Meantime,
am.
a memorial has been gathering at a shopping plaza. The scene where a woman was fatally shot yesterday, allegedly by DeShepper. CTV's Janice Golding is there and has more details. Janice.
Hi, Nathan. We're still trying to confirm this information, but people that we've spoken to today who say they know the victim identify her as a woman in her 20s who they say had 4 children in total, including the child who was involved in this Amber Alert. Here is more about the shooting incident itself.
Today, some isolated bouquets of flowers rest against a pole in a Brampton parking lot. The only visual clue of what happened here yesterday afternoon.
A young male approaching a car with a female sitting inside, asking, where's the bag? You didn't give me the bag. I was walking in the store and I heard gunshots.
It was early afternoon and the lot was busy. Several people in the area of the Winners parking lot near Airport Road and Queen Street East told CTV News they heard anywhere from 2 to 4 shots ring out.
I actually was in the store. I just heard a little bit of gunshots and it was very quick, probably 2 to 3.
I just heard the shots and then I was looking around to see what was going on, you know, because your brain wants to say those weren't shots. But I then saw a person laying by looking in the mirror.
At first, this witness says he didn't know if the victim was a male or a female, but he quickly learned the person who'd been shot had been badly injured because they were lying in a pool of blood.
I'm just shaking. It's pretty scary because I live in the general area, so it's pretty terrifying to know and sad to know that these things happen.
Emergency responders say they received calls about shots fired just before 2 p.m. When they arrived on scene, they found a woman just outside a vehicle. She was treated but died of her injuries.
Pretty surreal, you know. I don't think it really sunk in really what happened. It's not a nice thing to happen. It was a young girl and it's sad.
It's sad. A young girl lost her life. Oh, I think she died. It's sad.
Witnesses say they believe the victim was a woman in her 20s.
Now, we are still working to give you more information about the victim herself. People we did speak to today who said that they worked with her, said they'd worked with her for a number of years, and they are all in a state of shock and disbelief, also saying that the people who worked with her children in the child care center are quite distraught today. Reporting live, I'm Janice Golding. Now back to Nathan.
Thank you, Janice. Two people are in life-threatening condition after being struck by a vehicle. It happened near Midland and Terra Avenue shortly before 9:15 last night. Both victims were taken to hospital with life-threatening injuries. The driver involved remained at the scene. The circumstances leading up to the pedestrians being struck are under investigation. And the OPP are investigating a serious crash in Halton region. It happened shortly before 6 last night on the 407 between Burnhamthorpe and Regional Road 25 in Oakville. Video from the scene shows a truck with a pole through its window, as well as an SUV in a ditch. So far, police have not given any details about possible injuries or what may have caused the crash. And we have more news in a moment, but first, here's a live look at the city this afternoon. Clouds with some sun mixed in as well. Pretty good-looking Wednesday, but it is cool. There's also a chance of rain, so bear that in mind if you've got any plans today. Lindsay Morrison is here with a look at how things are now. Hey, Lindsay.
Hey, Nathan. Yeah, we're dealing with lake effect rain showers, and often when I use the term lake effect, we think of snow. We don't have to worry about that this time around, but it's the same kind of setup. We have relatively cooler winds moving over the relatively warmer Great Lakes, and this is a pretty intense lake effect rain band right now over Lake Erie, impacting portions of Niagara and New York State. We've also got some showers well west of us right now, but we are likely to be clipped by some wet weather a little later today. There's those winds southwesterly direction right now, not overly gusty, but noteworthy. Our temperature currently is 9 degrees, so we're a little cool. Here's today at a glance, a seasonal high expected of 12 degrees. We'll take you through the forecast for the rest of the week and into the weekend coming up. Michelle, I'll send it over to you.
Thank you. For another day, the fallout from revelations surrounding the Skills Development Fund, as well as job losses, are dominating question period at the Ontario Legislature.
CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris has the details.
It's the slow burn scandal the opposition continues to poke at. Scrutiny of potential preferential treatment and handing out hundreds of millions of dollars from the Skills Development Fund.
Why is this Premier so committed to protecting his Minister of Labour, who's clearly out of order, and not committed to protecting the workers
of auto towns like Ingersoll? The Premier said yesterday he didn't think David Piccini needed to be moved over his handling of the Skills Development Fund.
Workers who really need this fund are asking, are you going to keep standing by your man?
Flashes of anger from the Premier, not talking about his minister, but emphasizing that he has stood alongside auto workers worried about their jobs.
Why did you vote against the deal to GM? Why did you vote against the deal for Stellantis? Why did you vote against the deal for Ford? Because you don't give two hoots about the workers.
Piccini didn't invite the media to a Skills Development Fund announcement in North York this morning, but continues to trumpet the program.
The result, Speaker, a near doubling of the number of women registering for apprenticeships. Wow. Those are the results. We're going to keep working hard to get the job done.
Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
The Toronto District School Board is changing the application and admission process for specialized programs. The school board is switching from a lottery system back to a skill and merit-based approach. The TDSB says it made the change based on direction from a government-appointed supervisor. Elementary school students will now be accepted based on their portfolio or audition videos submitted with their application. High school students must meet a report card benchmark to be eligible to apply. Getting admitted will then be based on merits and demonstration of knowledge and skills. Applications open the week of November 10th.
Traffic into the city is busy at the best of times, but this weekend is promising to be particularly slow.
The area around Rogers Centre will be buzzing as the World Series gets underway Friday, and it may impact the timing of the Gardner construction. CTV's Natalie Johnson joins us live with those details. Natalie.
Hi, Michelle. Friday stands to be a huge night here in Toronto with the Jays taking on LA here at home at the Rogers Centre for the first game of the World Series. The Raptors will also be playing here at home, and you can only imagine there will be tens of thousands of fans flocking to see those games, as well as many, many more filling up the bars and the restaurants in the city. And what that will mean certainly is some impacts on traffic. Mayor Olivia Chow saying this morning she is encouraging Torontonians to take transit into the core as much as possible, walking to those games games after maybe getting off the GO train or the subway at Union Station, for example. It may as well also have impacts on the Gardner construction. It was set to wrap up early. October 27th was the day that the lanes between Dufferin and Strachan were slated to reopen. That could now get pushed back, given that a crucial closure does have to happen for some final construction work before that is able to happen. Mayor Olivia Chow saying this morning that she is implementing a traffic management plan for the busy weekend ahead that takes a page out of how it operated during the Taylor Swift concerts. Is that a situation where you would have more traffic wardens in place, for example?
Yeah, I did ask exactly that question. As you know, we hired traffic wardens. Unfortunately, they are, at this point, 9 to 5 folks. But because this is a Jays game, World Series, the police are directly involved. The traffic division of the police are part of the integrated management plan. So what you have is there's a control center where you have the police, the transportation, fire, ambulance, all of them, and economic development, plus the 311 people, all in one place where they deal with any, whether it's emergency or planning. They have very good practice. I visited them several times, especially the last day of the Taylor Swift concert, where the place was packed, and it was a Saturday night too, I think. And they are just seamless coordination, all in one place. So we're going to do the same setup, and I have confidence they will do well.
Meanwhile, Toronto Police telling CTV News that Torontonians can expect to see an increased officer presence around Rogers Centre during the World Series games, that they are actively working with officials at the Rogers Centre as well as the city to coordinate traffic and crowd management, as well as an emergency response plan. Reporting live, I'm Natalie Johnson. Nathan, over to you.
Thank you, Natalie. More trouble for the Eglinton Crosstown LRT. The province says testing has been paused on the delayed transit project. The Transportation Minister's office says the pause is because of an incident late last week. Officials didn't provide specifics, but say testing along the 19-kilometer route will resume shortly. Construction on the future Line 5 began in 2011, with the line originally set to open in 2020. Metrolinx described a 30-day testing phase, which began earlier this month, as a major milestone towards the transit system entering regular service. That being said, no opening date has been set. Well, the World Series gets underway in just 2 days, and Blue Jays fans are excited to see their team face the reigning champions, LA Dodgers, on baseball's biggest stage. More than 230,000 people queued up, but tickets to the showcase sold out in minutes, with some going for eye-watering prices and being resold for much higher than face value. Toronto finished the regular season with a better record than LA, so the Jays will get home field advantage and host the series opener, as well as Games 6 and 7, if necessary. For the very latest on all of this, let's bring in CTV's Scott Hurst. Scott, a great time for Blue Jays fans. The first round of tickets sold out in just under an hour. What have fans been saying about trying to get tickets? I know it's a challenge.
Nathan, of course, so much excitement for the fact that the Blue Jays have made it to the World Series. There will be a World Series game here in Toronto for the first time in more than 3 decades. So that really sets the stage for the immense demand. And then came the disappointment, the harsh reality of so many fans finding out that they probably won't get a chance to be in the building for that game. As you said, there were hundreds of thousands of people that queued up online hoping to get a chance at buying tickets, but quickly found out that all the tickets that were bought initially in the hundreds of dollars from the direct official release that began at 10 a.m. yesterday were all quickly snapped up and then were found on the resale websites for so much more money. Some of the cheapest tickets for the 500 level are in the $1,200, $1,300, $1,400, $1,500 range, but then for many other tickets much closer to the action, much closer to the field, they're now being found on the ticket resale websites in the several thousands of dollars, upwards of $10,000, $15,000 just to have a seat close to the action. Now, there's a potential chance for some general admission standing room tickets to be released at certain times. Those, however, require text message codes. And Nathan, as you might expect, those likely won't last too long either.
Yeah, you got that right. So what about ticket scams? We're hearing about some of those already. What are you hearing?
Well, be careful if you see tickets, particularly on social media. Anytime there's so much demand, you can pretty much guarantee there will be people looking to take advantage of all the demand and those looking for a relatively good price or a good deal to witness this first game of the World Series coming up on Friday. But of course, there are the common red flags, most notably if there is a price that you think looks too good to be true. There's a good chance that it is. Of course, this isn't uncommon when we see so much demand. We saw this during the wildly popular Taylor Swift shows as well. Several of the shows, in fact. And of course, Nathan, those also took place at Rogers Centre.
Of course. CTV's Scott Hurst live in the CTV newsroom. Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan.
Two years ago, a pivotal figure in the province's greenbelt scandal was known only as Mr. X due to how he was described by the province's integrity commissioner.
Now, Mr. X is coming forward saying he wants to tell the truth about what happened, claiming it's relevant to the current controversy about the Skills Development Fund. CTV's John Woodward has the story.
This is the Mr. X Files, and I'm John Mutton.
Mr. X has been John Mutton's nickname for years now, and he's put it in the name of his podcast.
I don't expect to be vindicated, but to tell the truth about what really happened.
The truth, in podcast form, from someone who has been mayor of Clarington, psilocybin entrepreneur, jiu-jitsu champion, as well as Mr. X.
I get Mr. X everywhere I go. And I've accepted it.
The nickname from an integrity commissioner report into how privileged developers got permission to remove lands from the protected greenbelt. Mutton admits he tried to get a portion on Nash Road out and played a lobbyist's game, offering sports tickets to political staff.
Yeah, you're damn right I did. I did it because that's the only way you had access to them.
Once on the inside, now Mutton says he wants to come clean on where he first got his greenbelt tip.
So I was at a fundraiser for David Piccini. I was one of his major fundraisers, and he represents half of our riding. So I was at a fundraiser at his riding president's farm, and he spoke to myself and my colleagues and says, I've heard a rumor, and that the greenbelt is going to be opening.
Something a transcript shows he told the integrity commissioner then and is now being denied by the office of David Piccini, now Minister of Labour. Claims he said were undeserving of serious consideration. The assertions referenced are categorically untrue and patently false. The matter being discussed has been covered extensively in public reports, including by the integrity commissioner, none of which reference Minister Piccini.
They said they categorically deny it.
Well, I would like to really see him put on the stand and see if he'll say that under oath, because I've actually had witnesses that have come forward and said, yes, that's what he said. So I think maybe through the RCMP investigation, I'll get that wish come true.
Have you been interviewed by the RCMP?
No, they showed up at my door, just upstairs, and just said, hey, we're doing this, and said, did you want to come in and volunteer any information? I said, no, that's fine, thanks.
Why did you say no?
Legal advice was, you know, like, I don't want to go down any further road that's going to cost me money. That cost me $220,000 in legal fees that I can't recoup.
The RCMP investigation into the Greenbelt is still ongoing. Billions in potential land value was abandoned by the Premier after public pressure and a CTV News investigation that found some insiders got massages with a developer. These days, Piccini is facing his own questions about the Skills Development Fund and hundreds of millions that may have gone to friends of his party and of him personally.
This is about funding important programming that's changing people's lives, supporting first responders, supporting our construction sector.
Looking at the Skills Development Fund now, what patterns do you see?
You got the exact same issue with the same people.
After what happened, Mutton has been banned from lobbying for 2 years. He says he'll continue to speak his mind on the podcast. John Woodward, CTV News.
Turning now to federal politics, there are calls from the lumber industry for the federal government to do more to protect the sector. CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver joins us live this afternoon from Ottawa. Annie, nice to see you. These are difficult times for the industry. There's so much uncertainty. What are representatives from lumber saying?
Hi, Michelle. Well, the industry representatives are saying that the industry is really at a tipping point, that these tariffs are putting some of these businesses out of business or really on the brink of going out of business, that they're at a very difficult time trying to determine whether they should keep their doors open. In some cases, these sawmills are absorbing the tariffs because they had contracts that were signed before the tariffs came into effect. In some cases, they're trying to share the tariffs with the buyer, but tariffs are expected to go up in January. And the industry executives are saying that they're frustrated, It doesn't feel like softwood lumber in the forestry sector is getting the same attention or prioritization as steel and aluminum. They say they want to be at the table. They want the government to take it more seriously. One person said they want to see leadership from the federal government. And ultimately what they want is to be heard. They want to be at the table when it comes to talks with other markets. For example, the Prime Minister is heading to the APAC and ASEAN summits where he'll be in the Asia-Pacific region talking to leaders of many different countries. And these executives are saying, look, why can't we be involved in these conversations as well when it comes to trying to find new markets for the lumber?
And Prime Minister Mark Carney is going to be giving a live address tonight. Any insight on what might be in that speech?
Right, so he's going to be giving what's being described as sort of a lengthy speech to a group of students here in Ottawa. This is a demographic that the Liberals are really trying to win over. And, he's expected to talk about the budget. He's not going to be, telling us every paragraph that's in the budget, but he will be giving some broad strokes about it. We know he's already made some announcements. For example, last week he talked about $1.8 billion in funding for the RCMP. They're hiring 1,000 people. And this is pretty normal for a government to do little announcements before the big day. But this is still very important for the Prime Minister, given that he is going to be out of the country for quite some time in those key dates leading up to the budget. So really, this is a chance for the Prime Minister to try to get his message to this younger generation, what they're now calling the generational budget. So it'll be important for him, especially as he leaves the country, and a chance for him to try to get his message out to this younger demographic that his government is really trying to win over. Michelle?
And Annie, as we approach the budget, are you anticipating any surprises on that front?
You know what? The nice thing about a budget is there's always something in there that you're not expecting. For example, a few years ago, remember, they decided to get rid of the penny. So you never know what's going to be in the budget. There's always something that comes out of it. A few years ago, it was the changes to the capital gains tax. So you always got to read it with a fine-tooth comb because it always has some kind of a surprise, Michelle.
Bergeron Oliver, thank you so much. She's live in Ottawa. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, the Conservatives insist the current situation is a mess and the Liberals aren't offering real solutions.
3,000 jobs lost at Stellantis. There was another 1,200 at Ingersoll. We've got softwood lumber jobs being eliminated. My leaders put out a statement. I don't have anything else to add. But there's a 5-alarm fire going on in this country with jobs, with inflation doubling its inflation way over target. So that's what we're going in to talk about today.
Meanwhile, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is demanding the Prime Minister cut taxes and keep the federal deficit under $42 billion in next month's budget. The Parliamentary Budget Office has predicted the deficit will increase to nearly $70 billion for the fiscal year. The Conservatives say Mark Carney will meet privately with Poilievre at 4:30 today to discuss the budget.
Ukrainian officials say Russia launched a massive drone and missile attack across Ukraine, killing at least 6 people. The attack struck at least 8 cities, including the capital, where about 29 people at minimum were injured. The wider Kyiv region was also targeted, as well as Zaporizhzhia and a city in the southern Odessa region. It also hit Ukraine's energy infrastructure, causing rolling blackouts. U.S.-led efforts to end this war have floundered, and Ukraine's president has appealed for more military help.
The International Court of Justice says Israel must allow a UN aid agency in Gaza to provide humanitarian assistance. The court was asked last year by the UN General Assembly to determine Israel's legal obligations after the agency known as UNRWA was effectively banned from operating in the territory. Israel has denied it has violated international law, saying the court's proceedings are biased. It insists UNRWA is infiltrated by Hamas, which the agency denies. The advisory opinion from the World Court was issued as a fragile ceasefire agreement continues to hold.
Well, we are keeping an eye on the tropics as Tropical Storm Melissa continues to strengthen. Here's what it looks like right now on the satellite and radar image. The direction of its track has changed somewhat. It is still expected to bring soaking rains to areas like the Dominican Republic and Jamaica, but now it looks as though it's going to veer a little west toward areas like Nicaragua and Honduras. Just something to be mindful of if you do have travel plans. This is our circulating low, bringing us rounds of showers the next few days and maybe a little bit of snow to northern Ontario and Quebec. We're going to take you through the forecast heading into the weekend. After this break, you're watching CTV News at noon, and we'll be right back.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
City staff are recommending some upgrades to Toronto's flooding protection program for homeowners. The call for change comes in the wake of last year's summer floods, which caused nearly $1 billion in insured damage across the GTA. The city says more than 1,000 homes suffered basement flooding, and after consultations with the public, it's looking at changes to the subsidy program first established back in 2007. About 14% of residential properties take part in the program. If changes are approved, Mayor Olivia Chow says the maximum payout per property will nearly double to help cover more extensive flooding precautions.
We know the existing version of this program has been a lifeline for homeowners. But with rising costs and more frequent storms, it's just not enough. This better flood protection program includes more money for backwater valves and sump pumps. Used to be you can only pick one. Now you can pick both, backwater valves and sump pump. It now covers the battery power for sump pump stations. Why is that important? Because if there's a big storm, guess what? The power sometimes goes out. Well, there you go. Your sump pump is not working anymore because you have to plug it into somewhere. But if you can have a backup battery supply, then for those hours that the pump needs to be working, those critical hours, it can continue to pump out the water.
The city says it's issued nearly $86 million in subsidies to date, and the changes could take effect as early as next May. And certainly residents have been exasperated by that. Many of them, every time it rains, they're bracing. Fortunately, we don't have big, heavy rain or anything like that today, but the potential for it.
Yeah, I would say over the last few months, it seems like whenever we get rain, we seem to appreciate it.
Yeah, we are. We're trending lower than average when it comes to October rainfall. October isn't exactly known for being a particularly rainy month, but we are still well below the average. I'll show you those numbers in a moment. But yes, once again today, we find ourselves with the chance of wet weather, varying amounts of sun and cloud. It is a little cloudy right now in many parts of the GTA, and we're going to watch for the wet weather moving in through the afternoon and early evening. Weather is brought to you by the Pressler Law Firm Injury Lawyers. You don't pay unless they win. Here's a look at what it looked like earlier this morning. This was technically around sunrise time, but I think the cloud cover muted that around the city of Toronto. Some pretty cool looking clouds, though. I was talking earlier about a lake effect rain band that is moving across Lake Erie right now. This is what happens when you get strong winds with this circulating low moving over the bodies of water that are technically relatively warmer compared to the winds. And so it's going to be a bit of a soaking today in some parts of Niagara region, relatively speaking, compared to the rest of the province. Here's a big picture look at that low. We're going to be dealing with this for the next day or so, maybe even into Friday, but then improvements are going to come for the weekend. Yes, possibility of some light snow or at the very least flurry activity in portions of northern Ontario, likely not amounting to a whole lot though. Here's about 6 o'clock tonight. So yes, chance of wet weather following us into the evening. Notice how scattered the showers are though. So it's a little bit tricky to pinpoint exact timing of its arrival and departure, but plan on showers into tomorrow morning as well. So that's your Thursday. Should be drier heading into the afternoon with some sunny breaks. And then Friday, best chance of wet weather is going to come in the morning. We should see conditions dry out. and the clouds start to clear out in time for Friday night. World Series baseball game is happening in the city of Toronto, so we're hoping for some good weather, and then further improvements come over the weekend. It's not a lot of rain, but again, we do need to add to our October tally. Right now, we are at, for the month, 19.4 millimeters. Typically, in the month of October, we'd see about 67 millimeters, and we are now heading into pretty much the last week of the month, if you can believe that. 11 degrees this hour in Toronto. Compare that to 1 degree in Geraldton in the north. Technically this afternoon, 12 is our forecast daytime high, which is seasonal. Here's your evening at a glance. Possibility of showers, but again, I don't think it's going to be wet everywhere, nor will it be wet all night. Overnight tonight, 6 is our forecast low. Tomorrow, 13 degrees. So we're still on the warm side of seasonal until westerly winds change to northwesterly winds, and that's going to start to cool things down for the rest of the week and into the weekend. In fact, I want to focus on these overnight lows for a second, which could be close to freezing at times, waking up Friday, Saturday, and Sunday morning. But we've got lots of sunshine in store for the weekend. Won't be quite as warm as the last few October weekends have been, but it will be sunny and seasonal, cooler, but pleasant condition-wise into the early part of next week. That's the forecast for now. Nathan, over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. The Blue Jays have had many kids staying up way past their bedtime to take in the action. Coming up, some advice on how parents can make sure they enjoy the World Series and get a good night's sleep. Watching the Jays has meant some late nights for fans, but what about kids begging to stay up when the World Series is underway?
Our health reporter Pauline Chan has some tips to help parents in all the negotiations.
Dr. Sally Kennaway was up with her 5-year-old nephew watching the Jays, but he didn't get to see the Game 7 winning homer by George Springer.
He really wanted to, but he got so tired, poor guy. So he went to bed in the 5th inning.
He got the winning score in the morning.
And so they updated him, and then they let him watch some highlights this morning before school.
Kennaway says she's a huge Jays fan, as well as Humber River's chief of pediatrics, and parents have some room for negotiations about bedtimes during the World Series.
Every kid is different. Every parent knows their kid best. So if a child has an important test the next morning, an important event, then maybe, try to negotiate going to bed earlier. And some kids, just the way they are, just their nature, they need routine.
For kids 5 and under, make a deal like her nephews to go to bed midway and catch up on highlights the following morning. But for older kids?
So it's a historic moment for Torontonians. Let the kids stay up, make an event out of it. They'll build memories. And you can actually use it as a learning experience.
For example, like how to handle the emotional roller coaster of winning or losing, and good sportsmanship.
George Springer got hit by a pitch. The other team was booing. A lot of kids are going to have questions about that. And I don't think that's something that should be encouraged, booing other teams when someone gets injured. So I think we need to be really conscious of our own behavior and what we're doing and know that our kids are going to model that.
If your child is tired the next day, a nap could help.
A limited nap after school, like a 30-minute nap. We're not talking 2-3 hours.
But she says fortunately 4 of the World Series games are scheduled on weekends, making things a little easier for fans and families. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
A new study shedding light on a major source of burnout for Canadian doctors, increasing amounts of paperwork. The study shared by RBC consulted about 500 physicians over the summer. 72% said non-clinical administrative work was a significant driver of workplace exhaustion. 77% said their administrative workload was reducing the time they can spend with patients. The research follows warnings from the Canadian Medical Association that 2/3 of doctors are spending more time on those tasks than they did 5 years ago, driving demand for innovation and streamlining of paperwork. Meanwhile, think tank MEI is out with a new report warning Canada is burning through its young nurses at an alarming rate, just as healthcare systems across the country struggle to keep them on staff. The findings show for every 100 nurses under 35 who registered to practice, 40 others did not renew their registration in 2023. The report says nursing job vacancies have also tripled nationwide over a 5-year span, from around 13,000 in 2018 to nearly 42,000 in 2023. The author said the findings show the importance of staffing flexibility to keep younger nurses in the profession.
As Oasis continues its reunion tour, fans now have a chance to pick up some unique pieces of the band's history.
It's the biggest Oasis collection of music memorabilia to ever come to market anywhere in the world.
150 items from Oasis are on offer as part of a larger music auction in London this week, expected to bring in more than $5.5 million. Among the items from Oasis are keepsakes, including handwritten lyrics and instruments. Noel Gallagher's Red Gibson guitar, which Liam Gallagher famously damaged on stage in 2009, is expected to sell for as much as $937,000. And speaking of auctions, the Jim Henson Company confirmed today it's offering up a selection of puppets, props, and memorabilia to members of the public for the first time ever. The company behind the Muppets, Fraggle Rock, and other classics says more than 400 items will be up for sale at its Hollywood headquarters next month to mark its 70th anniversary. Proceeds will go towards preserving the Jim Henson Company's archives for future generations.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
It's a chance to witness history and watch the Jays and the Los Angeles Dodgers play in the World Series.
Some fans were luckier than others and able to score tickets, but now the games are sold out and tickets are mainly available through the much more expensive secondary market. CTV's Pat Foran has this consumer alert.
And a swing and a fly ball to left field. As the Toronto Blue Jays get ready to take on the Los Angeles Dodgers, at one point there were 235,000 fans online trying to purchase tickets. They sold out in about 30 minutes. Cadence Bunky of Toronto was one of the lucky fans.
Once I got through, there were not that many tickets left already. Like, a lot of them were resale.
Bunky was able to buy 2 seats in the 500 level for $500 each, and 2 in the 200 level were $750 per ticket.
I was shocked by the face value when I got through. I was like, that's a lot, but everyone was messaging me that they couldn't even get through the queue, so I figured, well, I better buy these.
I just wanted to go by myself because I'm such a massive Jays fan.
Taylor Belford was scammed trying to buy a single Jays ticket through a Facebook group. It was for Game 6 of the Jays and Seattle Mariners. At $150 for a ticket in the 200 level, she says it seemed like a bargain, but the seller claimed they couldn't go and didn't want the seat to be wasted.
It was, again, somebody supposedly that had tickets that wasn't going to be able to go, that didn't really care about the money.
After she transferred the money, the seller said he couldn't separate 2 tickets and told her to send another $150. When she asked for a refund, she says it was clear she had been scammed.
I just lost that money, and I don't want other people to have to go through that too. So just be careful.
Tickets are now selling on the secondary market. On Ticketmaster, 500 level tickets are selling for $2,000 to $3,000. The price jumps to $7,500 in Section 115. If you wanted to be closer to the action, you could pay almost $20,000 for 2 tickets. Over on StubHub, prices were about the same, if not more. In Section 22, 2 seats will cost you more than $12,000. But in Row 1, Section 21, 2 seats will set you back almost $25,000. But that's VIP with all you can eat and drink. You may find tickets cheaper, but be cautious if you see deals on social media. Chances are they're a scam.
I think they want to keep this Facebook group open to keep scamming people.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
Meantime, the Leafs are getting ready for a home-and-home against Buffalo after hosting the New Jersey Devils last night.
Larson, long shot, lots of traffic, they score!
John Tavares opened the scoring in the first, but the Devils responded with 4 goals in the second on their way to a 5-2 victory. The Leafs have struggled recently, winning just twice during this 5-game homestand. The Toronto Maple Leafs, by the way, gave a nod to the Blue Jays ahead of their game last night, a day after Vladimir Guerrero Jr. arrived to Game 7 of the ALCS wearing an Austin Matthews jersey. The Maple Leafs captain returned the favor. John Tavares and William Nylander there also among Leafs players that arrived at Scotiabank Arena repping the Blue Jays. Meanwhile, the Leafs are changing the start time for a couple of their games because of the World Series. The Buds were set to host the Sabres Saturday at 7 o'clock. That has now been moved up to 5 p.m. The Leafs have also adjusted the start time of Tuesday's game against the Calgary Flames to 6 p.m. Fans can stay around afterwards to watch the games on the Scotiabank Arena video board. And the Raptors are also making some tweaks as well. They were scheduled to host their home opener against the Milwaukee Bucks on Friday at 7:30, but the start time for that game has been moved up to 6:30. And Toronto will now host the Houston Rockets at 6:30 on Wednesday. The Jays games will also be shown on the video board afterwards. Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment says the time changes for both the Raps and the Leafs, providing fans an opportunity to watch the Jays. Meanwhile, the Raptors begin their season tonight over in Atlanta.
We got some breaking news from Quebec, where Unifor says truck assembly plant PACCAR is cutting 300 jobs. The union insists the workers facing layoffs are the latest victims of the U.S. tariff war. Unifor adds that time is running out for negotiations between Canada and the U.S. to come to fruition, and calls for decisive action to be taken while the talks continue. The PACCAR facility manufactures light and medium-duty Kenworth and Peterbilt trucks. Well, some financial forecasters are predicting Tesla will announce strong quarterly results today, but that optimism might be fleeting. Analysts say the car company is set to report adjusted earnings of roughly $1.9 billion U.S. That's expected to be linked to a rush of American buyers trying to take advantage of an expiring tax credit south of the border. But investors may be more focused on CEO Elon Musk's outlook, and that will include whether new versions of its Model 3 and Model Y cars can keep up demand and attract new interest overseas. Sales of Tesla's aging lineup declined for the first time last year, and analysts expect an 8.5% fall this year. Also today, hotel operator Hilton Worldwide cut its forecast for revenue growth for 2025. Analysts say that's a signal weak travel demand is expected to continue, with many consumers dialing down discretionary spending. Travel demand in the U.S. has taken a hit as households worry that a shifting tariff policy could push up the price of goods and eat into their purchasing power.
And Netflix shares are down around 10% today after the streaming giant's fourth quarter revenue outlook failed to impress investors. The tepid outlook undermines the company's run of strong revenue growth in recent quarters, thanks to hit shows and movies, including K-pop Demon Hunters, that have helped boost Wall Street's expectations. Netflix is due to release the final season of Stranger Things in November and stream 2 live National Football League games on Christmas. The company also missed third quarter profit estimates due to unexpected expenses related to a dispute with Brazilian tax authorities, which weighed on an otherwise strong content quarter. And speaking of K-pop Demon Hunters, Netflix also announced plans for a major merchandise push based on what's become its most streamed movie ever. The company says it's working with Mattel and Hasbro to license a range of products based on the franchise. Variety reports it's believed this is the first time the two rivals have been given merch rights to the same property, a signal of strong forecasted demand.
The high cost of Halloween candy is turning sticker shock into sticker fright.
Rising prices and smaller products are sending shivers down spines as shoppers look for tricks to save on treats. CTV's Alexandra Hollick speaks with a food economist to unwrap the unwelcome surprise.
Creepy costumes may not be the scariest sight this Halloween.
Chocolate's skyrocketing.
Candy costs are soaring to haunting heights. According to a report from the Agri-Food Analytics Lab, Canadians are spending 10 to 20% more on treats this year. And experts say the trick is shrinkflation.
Products get smaller without the price going up, so it's a way of hiding price increases.
Mike Von Masso is a food economist at the University of Guelph. He says cocoa and sugar prices are on the rise, and consumers are on the hook.
Anything that has chocolate in it is getting more expensive, and the price of sugar has gone up. Part of that was driven by U.S. tariffs on other countries and Canadian retaliatory tariffs on the U.S.
And while those retaliatory tariffs have since been dropped, in-store prices are still going steady.
We might not see the price relief from the removal of those tariffs until after Halloween this year.
For this shopper, the sticker spook is nothing new.
It's got to the point where last year I wasn't even going to have Halloween.
She says she still wants to hand out treats, so she made a switch.
I purchase now is only chips. That's it, no chocolates.
Potato chips are actually cheaper than they were a year ago. So you could, I expect some Halloween bags will have more potato chips in them than they do in the average year.
But for those hoping to stick to sweets, Von Masso says waiting may be worth it.
I think watching for those specials as we get closer to Halloween, if demand is down, we might see them.
Alexandra Hulick, CTV News.
You love both chips and chocolate bars. You have a favorite?
I like it all. And you know what? Now that things are smaller and the shrinkflation is happening, you can have 20 of those little chocolate
And
bars.
still feel
and it's
good.
just like one.
And it's healthy, yeah.
That's what happens. You do this. Anyway.
Well, that makes me feel better
Yeah.
for the candy I'm going to be eating after Halloween, inevitably.
It won't be long now.
Yeah, it won't be long. We will have to talk about the wet weather that's in store for a little later on today. We're getting already some showers now for the west end of the GTA. And some steady rain in places like Fort Erie, for example. Overnight tonight, still hanging on to some showers, a low of 6 degrees. Tomorrow, 13 for the high, but again, still quite unsettled. We can't help ourselves. We're already looking ahead to Friday night, and here's a look at what you can expect. Game time. Jays taking on the Dodgers, 7 degrees at 8 p.m. And then your 7-day forecast shows some sunshine into the weekend. Nathan and Michelle.
Thank you, Lindsay. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and the whole team here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Dowd. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. So